Hello everyone. I would like to do a very quick talk. I want to talk about the architecture of the mind and how when we look at our lives, the dimensions we see through self-observance. I want to tell you beforehand that there's going to be turbulence in this talk, in the sense that you hearing my talk might have sudden, feelings or releases. And so once a release happens, the body is being introduced to a new frame of its own thinking, and so it's a natural process. Understand that the secret of the Zen master, the mystic, the yogi, the meditator, is that he has found a harmony through the stillness and, in a sense, naturalness and silence of his body. So he uses the body and his breathing methods and his practice and his, in a sense, walk to truth, and he begins being the truth, in a sense, being who you are to the degree that your separation indulges in your totality. That's a very huge thing, because that is when your imagination stops to see itself again. I have noticed, and these are my observations, that the way we have gone into the mind, in other words, how the conscious is trying to explore the unconscious, there are many methods to it, but the one that I have found to be the quickest route is that of simple self-observance. So instead of going to a guru or someone else, your life can take you there and you might need that experience. But I'm saying if you're someone who is busy in life, the best thing you can really do and take away from my talk is that you need to have mindfulness. So what that means is try not shutting the door so hard. Try to be very, very calm, very gentle, very graceful. Walk as if you have a flower in your hand. This is the Buddha's advice. And in a sense, through a gentle state of being, then walk into other alterations of thought and whatnot. You see, you need to look at yourself, to look at your memory, and to see the nature of the projections of your mind. And in a sense, understand that the truth is at first your truth. And so before you can see the truth, you got to see who you are. Before you can see your truth, you got to see who you are. And who you really are is the next moment. So stop examining yourself in that way. And people are not naturally doing this, by the way. So in other words, anger and stress, you're not going towards it. It's just that you get caught in it by, in a sense, a bit of confusion. So confusion begins when two different beings communicate in ways where their realities are not coordinated. So the world that one being sees and the other being sees are different worlds, and so they cannot ever, see through the same eyes. And this is a big argument. But in a sense, you see that you want to work with yourself because that is your immediate given. So the person who is not willing to observe himself is limiting knowledge, is blocking knowledge from himself. Because a lot of great and very profound wisdom and understanding comes from one's experiences of falling, We go through different experiences. And so, in a sense, you will see an infinity in the sense that you can always observe what you have just observed. So that an unshaped view will always be aware of the shaped view. Because that is how they are kept together, especially in the nature of your mind. In the terms that once you confront your emptiness, you have also opened up to your totality. Once you completely confront your mistakes and your wrongs and all those things you're trying to forget, you really see that freedom is a sense of freedom that does not have to keep running to the other side of its polarity. So in other words, stop thinking because you did something you're a good person, and because you did something you're a bad person. All these are based on your life. And so the greatest person at times who can give us a solution is that person who is not in the problem. And so you see that you fix your problems. In other words, when you don't have a problem, that means there is no version of you who is in a problematic reality. So the transition of that is a natural progression. So you see, nature has brought you in this place. You could have been born anywhere, and so this is really what nature and evolution, and in a sense, our process of cyclical infinite change is bringing us towards. We are finding a greater ability in the fact that to continue from the void, all of this suggests that your ignorance can really limit you if you are constantly looking at an ignorant self. I can be in a room and I can have my attention completely on one corner of the room, and nothing will, in a sense, happen that doesn't need to. You don't need to stay out in the cold when you know there is a warmer place. You don't need to be limited to an incapable reality when you know you're capable. When you see these simple things which you totally just went past by, you begin seeing that by making your reality and your life a bit gentler and more sensitive to actually life. So what is alive? In other words, you waking up and trying to see what's alive, right? And you really following that and trying to find what the essence of that is. When you get to your peak, when you will see that an existential search is one that tells you to get rid of everything and run into the mountains like a madman. My friends, I would like to share a quote with you by a great man named Rumi, a very great teacher. And so his quote says, "Before death takes away what you are given, give away what there is to give." And this man simply implied that before you confront the most important moment of your life, before you become the ending of the Grey movie, go gentle into that good night. You will see that after you have released things, you're no longer bothered. So you don't want to be so insensitive to your experience that you find yourself to be blind in a world filled with color. It is up to you to adjust your sensitivity to your ambition. A lot of people want a very, a certain type of life, but their biggest problem is they're not arranging their sensitivity range. In other words, how they're experiencing life is not fit for that ambition. And so before you do anything, how about knowing yourself? How about sitting down, listening and seeing all the ideas that come and go, which you have been associating, and also longing to know who is beyond the thinker? When you ask these questions, there's a part of you that says that do not carry on and do not walk into the abyss. And another part of you says, after you have gone to every place on earth, you will seek the surface of another reality. When man looks at himself, his eyes dissolve into a great experience that holistically is simply a moment telling you, stop looking at things with thought. Stop looking at things without an awareness to what you're looking at. So what that means is that if I am so consumed by the thought of me consuming whatever I want, following my desires, there is really no solution that can fit that problem. So in other words, I'm going to give you an example. It's not that every problem needs an answer. Sometimes the answer lies in the destruction of a useless problem. What that means is a lot of people think they are in a condition. But when you really look at it, you see that you are being fluctuating in different, cycles of flow, cosmic flow, and simply transforming into the eyes of a new man. It changes you. When you really look at the core of life, it changes you. It's similar to being suddenly beside a white lion, being like right there in front of the white lion in a meditative pose, and the white lion's just in front of you. And so it's in a sense being in a state where you're not ignoring death, you're acknowledging your life simply. That's it. And you're learning of the value of your life through all your ideas of death. So when you say that there is a self-awareness that learns, we find that everyone has the potential to learn. So therefore, everyone has a potential of having experiences beyond the experiences they're having now. So if you can accelerate your experience, that means that your life is being more expressive. So similar to how a flower blooms, a man getting into his creative flow of expression begins just giving out his own emanation, You see, the mind of man is simple because its problems have nothing to do with the nature of the mind. The problems are objective relationships kept in immediate memory, in immediate awareness. So when you look at this, you can see you can be aware in ways where you have not consciously recognized before. When this happens, your consciousness shifts. So in other words, a new man is born. You begin having dreams of your own death. And what that means is that in your dream, you're confronting the ability for you to move beyond a sense of yourself. And this is a great achievement, because we want our temporal identities to not, in a sense, limit other temporal gateways to an infinite understanding. You need to see that clarity is your business, it's your thing. It's that personal moment. In other words, think of your most favorite object. Now think of that, instead of that object, think of yourself. You're with yourself. In other words, you're aware of yourself. You're aware of the concept of a self, and you have the ability to your own natural allowance, guys. Imagination is best used when it is not touched. What that means is, for example, when I talk, when I write, when I draw, when I speak, when I eat, when I do whatever, I understand that my path is one that is not walked by an elusive self. Man's greatest problem is that he cannot trust his imagination, and so he sees that his reality is confined to his past. What if many aspects of our potential dissolve in our meaningless preferences to not do this thing and not do that thing? I noticed that if man makes a spectrum too separate and too wide, he will feel as if he's so small that he does not need to do anything. But in actuality, that is not the point. When we look at greater collective consciousnesses, and in a sense what I mean by that is, look at the planet as a being, as something that is so alive, that has created your life. So as we're alive here, we need to really let ourselves experience a broken mask. I'm going to suggest certain things, and then very quickly I want to give you certain routes and pathways and how to transition yourself between this journey of life that you're in. And so you actually stop any other idea of separation. You don't think about it, you only think about what is immediately here. So in other words, you're not looking in a book, you're not asking anyone, you're not, if you really want to know the answer to who you really are, you don't even need my video. You only need simply the understanding that if you sit and meditate in a way where blindness fades, your clarity will even bring joy. So I want to tell you, a lot of people nowadays forget about prayer and forget about concepts of gratefulness, and being appreciative, and they're like, gosh, we're not as old as, some people, Native Americans, for example, they respected the spirits and took what they need, but, that was them. Now we're civilized, and now we know what to do, right? When arrogance builds up in a society, it brings a havoc that leads to chaos. So in other words, the main people who created an ordered system begin experiencing that system in a chaotic way. When this, in a sense, program or cyclical activity happens within the consciousness of a being, regardless of place and presence, the being is transitioning into a different validity that it did not have before because it was limited. You see, the concept of the limited and limitless does not need to exist because I don't think about it when I'm sleeping. You see, you want to value the experience, so you want to see that when you're asking the greatest question, who is really asking it, And it depends if you're satisfied with your intensity of life, Some people will listen to my talk and they will feel adjusted, aligned, and that is beautiful, but they need to understand that regardless, they need to still receive some information from themselves. So what that means is that after hearing any talk, any lecture, any voice, suddenly absorb those sounds and recollect them in your voice. Your imagination has, not your imagination, let's say your mind, okay, has so many, all your memories present themselves in your imagination. The way I like to talk about imagination, guys, is that we want to create, let's say, a ball. It's a party, and it's you know, and in this party, certain people are invited. One of them is thought. Thought is invited, right? And thought is actually, you know, the one who has the allowance to do anything. But we see that if in a party we're all listening to thought, then we're not really hearing the other stuff. But what could there be other than thought? At times you need to, you know how you're trying to fix your problem? Sometimes in the mind of, let's say, a natural engineer, you will see that when you can't really fix something or you don't have the proper tools, you let it go and you fix your viewpoint and your evaluation. Man's imagination and his ability to consider, let's say, infinite, you know, observances or creativity just shows that he has the potential to be anything you want. When the spectrum is expanding, when the dualities are increasing, you actually see it is inducing a sense of arrow into the sky, you know? You kind of feel it. In other words, you trust yourself in the sense that if you wake up in the morning and you have an agenda and you just go do something, you have a level of trust in yourself. Now, all that you need to do is become aware of who you are through a method of, you know, recollection. And there are different ways to remember. There are ways to remember if I constantly ask you a question, and there are ways to remember by actually being still and looking back at your memories, not thinking, not trying to do anything, not even having the word try exist, and just simply being and walking, and in a sense, feeling free through a sense of imprisonment. Much blessings. And namaste.